Union of India v. Harish Chandra Rawat. The case of Union of India v. Harish Chandra Rawat, 2016, is an important constitutional judgment of the Supreme Court of India relating to the imposition of President's rule under Article 356 of the Constitution of India. This case followed and applied the principles laid down in the S. Bommai case and further strengthened democracy and federalism. Background of the case. Harish Chandra Rawat was the Chief Minister of Uttarakhand in 2016. His government faced political instability after some MLAs of the ruling party rebelled. Based on this situation, the Governor of Uttarakhand sent a report to the President of India, stating that the state government had lost its majority in the Legislative Assembly. Relying on the Governor's report, the President imposed President's rule under Article 356 of the Constitution of India in March 2016, and the elected state government was dismissed without conducting a floor test in the Assembly. Harish Chandra Rawat challenged the imposition of President's rule before the Uttarakhand High Court, arguing that the dismissal was unconstitutional and that he should be allowed to prove his majority on the floor of the House. The High Court quashed the President's rule and ordered a floor test. Aggrieved by this decision, the Union of India approached the Supreme Court of India by filing SLP No. 11567 of 2016, leading to this important constitutional case. Issues before the court. In Union of India v. Harish Chandra Rawat, 2016, the Supreme Court of India examined important constitutional questions related to the imposition of President's rule under Article 356 of the Constitution of India. The main issues before the court were whether the imposition of President's rule in Uttarakhand was constitutional or arbitrary. The court had to decide whether there was a real breakdown of constitutional machinery in the state. Whether the majority of the state government should be tested on the floor of the Legislative Assembly. The issue was whether a floor test is mandatory before dismissing an elected government. Whether the Governor's report is sufficient to justify the dismissal of a state government. The court examined whether reliance only on the Governor's report is valid. Whether the Uttarakhand High Court was justified in quashing President's rule and ordering a floor test. Whether courts have the power to intervene to protect democracy and federalism in such cases. These issues were crucial for determining the limits on the use of Article 356, the role of judicial review, and the protection of democratic governance in states. Judgment of the Court. In Union of India v. Harish Chandra Rawat, 2016, the Supreme Court of India delivered an important judgment strengthening democracy and federalism under the Constitution of India. The Supreme Court upheld the decision of the Uttarakhand High Court and held that the imposition of President's rule under Article 356 was not justified in the facts of the case. The court emphasized that an elected state government should not be dismissed without giving it a fair opportunity to prove its majority in the Legislative Assembly. The court ruled that the correct and constitutional method to test the majority of a government is a floor test in the Legislative Assembly, and not the Governor's report or political allegations. Accordingly, the Supreme Court ordered an immediate floor test to be conducted under its supervision. In the floor test, Harish Chandra Rawat proved his majority, and as a result, the President's rule was revoked and his government was restored. The court made it clear that Article 356 must be used only as a last resort and that courts can intervene to prevent its misuse. Thus, the judgment reaffirmed the principles laid down in S. Bommai v. Union of India and strongly protected constitutional governance, democratic values, and state autonomy. Significance of the judgment. The judgment in Union of India v. Harish Chandra Rawat is of great constitutional and democratic importance. It further strengthened the principles laid down earlier in S. Bommai v. Union of India and acted as a strong check on the misuse of Article 356 of the Constitution of India. One of the most important contributions of this judgment is the clear affirmation that the floor test is the best and most democratic method to determine whether a government enjoys the confidence of the Legislative Assembly. The Supreme Court made it clear that an elected government cannot be removed merely on the basis of the governor's report or political allegations. The judgment also strengthened judicial review by confirming that courts can intervene to protect democracy and federalism when president's rule is imposed arbitrarily. By restoring the dismissed government after a successful floor test, the court showed that democratic mandate must be respected. Further, the case reinforced the idea that president's rule is an exceptional measure and should be used only as a last resort. It protected state autonomy and prevented unnecessary interference by the center in state affairs. Overall, this judgment increased public confidence in constitutional governance, safeguarded federal balance, and ensured that democratic values prevail over political considerations. It remains an important precedent in controlling the misuse of emergency powers in India. Conclusion. In conclusion, it is a significant constitutional judgment that strongly upheld democracy, federalism, and the rule of law. The Supreme Court made it clear that an elected state government cannot be dismissed without giving it a fair opportunity to prove its majority on the floor of the Legislative Assembly. By reaffirming that Article 356 must be used only as a last resort and that its use is subject to judicial review, the court prevented arbitrary interference by the central government in state affairs. The judgment strengthened the principles laid down in S. Bommai v. Union of India and ensured respect for the democratic mandate of the people.